Wow! It's 2 minutes to late night!
All right, what's up, grapes? Sometimes I see cute bats eating grapes on Instagram. Welcome to Pod Minutes to Cast Night. Jeremy told me to come up with a bat snack, and I was like, grapes.
Jeremy.
Everybody,
It's a valid bat snack.
It is. But you're listening to Pod Minutes to Cast Night. We are a podcast that listens to critically reviled albums, and we try to find something good about them. We're changing it up a little bit this week, but you're here with the 2 Minutes Late Night Writers Room and new, just pretty much permanent member of the podcast, Kat Jones.
Hello.
From
Thank you
Kerrang.
so much for having me. I'm so excited. In my
Hell
living
yeah.
room, once again. Here we are.
Yeah, you're excited to be here in your house
Sure
where you
am.
live.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Hammond, and I made a soft-boiled egg today.
Yeah, you said
We were
it was
talking
the
about it
perfect
before the
one.
mics were on, and then I couldn't think of a joke. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's just not going to be funny.
Well, let's just, maybe it isn't, but maybe tell everybody about this egg.
Well, I was
Maybe?
making
I don't-
hard-boiled eggs for a salad, and I fucked up, and I didn't cook it long enough. And that's about as far as the story goes.
But you accidentally...
I accidentally made the perfect soft-boiled egg, and I'll never be able to replicate it. I've never been able to make a soft-boiled egg right, and I probably never will again.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just you go in going like, I'm gonna fuck up this salad. That's how it happens.
Oh, hello, it is me, America's sweetheart, Katie Rose Leon, back at it again. You know, they say Godzilla is the king of monsters, but who's the duchess of monsters? It's your girl, KRL. I got a ribbon. I remember the bit. Someone here
Did
remember?
you write that bit?
No.
You just went.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I'm really talented.
Yeah.
It's great.
Godzilla gifted you a manor in East Germany.
Yeah, thank you. We have to come down for a public bruncheon and christening like twice a year. It's like a whole to do because I have to pretend not to be Jewish.
It happens. And I'm Jordan Olds, and I just started trying to wear contacts, so my eyes feel like they're sunburned. That's it. It's hard to see right now. Drew's not here. He's coming back to New York, so he has to, I guess, burn everything that he owns in L.A. first.
He's coming back permanently?
No, just for a wedding, but still he'll probably do that.
Makes sense.
Everything but the cats.
Right.
In the trash.
He's a
on
man
fire.
of extremes.
Yes.
You got to do what you got to do.
And speaking of stuff we have to do, before we start the episode, we got to talk about something we listened to that we liked this week. Jeremy, what'd you do?
As you guys talked about on the last episode, I've been away on a bachelor party. I was up in the state's capital, Albany, New York, getting faded and looking at canals.
We were like, it's trains or something.
You said train museum.
Yeah, no,
That's what
I
you're-
looked at
what you
trains.
thought
I
he'd be
looked at
doing.
canals. There was a canal lock between the Erie Canal and the Hudson River. It was very cool. I got to look at all the gears. The fun part is that I was half blackout drunk while I was looking at it, so that was fun. It's a bachelor party. You got to get drunk. Anyways, the point is, my boys, they're all into metal, but none of them had heard baby metal before. So I got all my friends into baby metal, and then I used that as a tool to radicalize them into listening to anime theme songs. And so I spent a good portion of my bachelor party playing anime themes for my boys.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard.
It was really fun. It was a very fun time, and I refuse to feel bad about it.
To be fair, you usually, you and I are culprits of suggesting music that no one that listens to the show actually wants to hear, but I will say most anime theme songs, if they're not pop music, they're straight up shredding.
Yeah. But even the straight up pop ones, really fun. They all it turns out they all really like the Gundam Wing one.
Yeah, okay.
That was the most popular one of the weekend. The other thing is I heard that tape, I showed it, or I talked to you about it, the Baby Metal with Rob Halford.
Yeah, it's great.
Fucking sick. So cool. Really happy with it.
Yeah, here's the
loves
thing.
them.
I am. No one in this room is upset about the baby metal part of this story.
Whatever. The Gundam Wing theme is good.
Look, I just
Fucking sound off in the YouTube comments.
dude, Katie, we just have to be prepared because in 6 months, like Jeremy's gonna get into steampunk. He's gonna start directing.
I can't wait. I fucking can't wait.
Wait, this is what it's all leading to. You're into transportation.
Oh my god.
And anime theme songs.
Oh my god.
And you're about to be married, so like you
Yeah,
don't have to
dude.
impress
It
anybody
won't even
anymore.
matter. You're gonna
Holy
start
shit.
dressing
You're
like
right.
old
Everybody who's
Becky
into-
Lynch.
Everyone who's into steampunk is a couple.
Yeah,
it's
like a
so
dorky
weird. It's
married
always a
couple.
couple who are in matching steampunk
Yep.
outfits.
Well, because they met each other at the Renaissance Fair /BDSM/Star Trek convention.
Yep.
Look, we can't talk about the album yet. So. Katie,
Do you
what'd
guys
you listen
remember
to?
that website called yourscenesucks.com?
Sort
I
of.
have
yeah, that
It
was
was
the
like
Rob Dobie
cartoon
thing. Yeah.
cartoon characters of people, and it had like diagrams of what all their clothing meant. Well, the steampunk one that said something like, in reality, steampunk is what happens when goths discover the color brown.
It's true.
So true.
Yeah,
And
that
instead
Brown
of
goths.
skulls, it's gears.
That was
Yeah.
the artist Rob Dobie, I think, right? Or Dobie.
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
D-O-B-I. Anyway.
That's the only
sure.
thing I remember about it, aside from like the like overgrown punk, and it said like, here's his regrettable alkaline trio tattoo. That's the only thing I remember about it.
That is how it worked. If you got an alkaline trio tattoo, you automatically turned 30.
Yeah. And then started listening to like bluegrass music.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's so real.
It was like Candyland where you get to to skip a bunch of spaces.
Was there a
Katie.
mechanism in the game of life where you like draw a card that's just like you get really into coke,
I've
move ahead
ne-
20 spaces?
I've never played that game. Katie, please talk about some music.
I don't have anything to contribute. I was gonna ask you to skip me this week, so please stop
Okay.
looking to me to get you out of this one.
Kat, what'd you listen to that you liked this week?
Well, I took on the project of writing an essay about the 20th anniversary of Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, yeah.
And so I listened to that album probably like 40 times in like 48 hours.
Boy.
And like so much so that my coworker who sits next to me looked at me and he's like, I think I've heard you play that album enough. And I was like, oh no, you can hear it in my headphones. And he's like, just enough. I was like, okay.
Just enough.
You know
Yeah.
what? I might need to take a break for like a couple years, but that album's great. So whatever.
It's also I also found it weird because their like unofficial nemesis band is Faith No More, and both of their like grown up albums, quote quote, came out on the exact same day.
Well, you
Really?
said that Angel Dust was 25 years ago.
It's 27. They're not like at the same time, but they share the same release.
just the same
date.
date. I see.
Which is
It's even weirder.
it's so weird. It's very weird. But
Chili Peppers were like, we're gonna wait till the year when we can release it on the same date, just to piss off Mike Patton.
yeah. It's really easy to piss off Mike Patton.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Have you seen that interview where he's just talking about this like Italian opera he's going to do, and then he's at a festival and just like a state away Wolf Mother starts playing and he just short circuits and just is trying to talk about this opera and he has to stop and he goes, "I'm sorry. Do you hear what we're listening to? What year is it?" He starts freaking out that Wolf Mother exists.
Do you want to know something really funny?
Huh.
I interviewed Andrew from Wolf Mother about that.
Yeah? What did
And
he say?
He seemed like he was really upset that I brought it up. He just kind of was just like, yeah, well, some people don't like my band, so whatever. Like, really defensive.
I mean, that is...
I was like, okay.
I mean, to be fair,
cool.
I get it. It's
yeah.
weird that like some guy you probably never met before was like freaking out about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have. I don't know, but
Yeah, I definitely support both sides. Not that I'm a huge Wolf Mother fan, but I just felt like it was something I had to ask.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, here's the thing. I remember that Mike Patton clip more than I remember what a Wolf Mother song is. I mix them and Jet and like every other Led Zeppelin. They do.
Is that what
Mother
Wolf
probably
Mother sounds like?
They sound like Led Zeppelin.
They sound like Jet?
or you brought up
Nobody sounds
Jet
like Led
as
Zeppelin except Led Zeppelin.
fair, but you know, it's like one of those things where it's like they're trying to do like a retro rock thing that sounds like Led Zeppelin. I have nothing against that because it happens every 5 years.
Right.
Like, that's why everyone's yelling at a Greta. But just Wolf Mother, I never got into it because I was like, oh, that's this 5 year tipping point of a band needs to sound like Led Zeppelin, and it's Wolf Mother, and they're probably okay at it. I have no opinion one way or the other, but it's just, of course, Mike Patton, who is just, it's weird. He's a pain in the ass about music, but he's also a weird person who can like back up his opinions on it. Like people are like, you're always so mad about what music sounds like right now. He's like, you hate everything on the radio. He's like, yeah, and it's like somebody was like, well, what do you think it should sound like? And then he made like an album called, I'm probably fucking this up, it doesn't matter, but he like made an album called Peeping Tom, and he goes, okay, well, this is what I think the radio should sound like.
That record is so good.
It's really cool. It's like one of those things where it's like, well, whether you like it or not, it's like, it's cool that he just went like, well, this is this is what I think.
And he teamed up with a ton of underground hip hop artists.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that record. I get that it's also super weird. It sounds like a really creepy Justin Timberlake record.
I think it's sexy as hell. I love it. It's like a sexy drug party by a pool.
It just sounds like,
I don't know.
I love Mike Patton's voice, but he definitely sings like different Nickelodeon characters. And I know that because
awesome.
Name names. I'm picturing like Cat Dog.
Yeah, an All Real Monster probably.
Yeah, Crumb from Our Real Monsters.
But I don't know. Because today I thought it was fun because it's the Angel Dust 20. It's the anniversary of Angel Dust, and last year for the show I recorded a Faith No More cover because I was like, maybe we could do something like this. It ended up sounding a little too much like the real song. But I released it today anyway, just because I thought it was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Just as a little demo.
Yeah.
It is neat. You were right.
I remember when I was singing it, to channel all the Mike Patton voices, I just thought of different cartoons and just started like, because it's just like, yeah, sometimes, or yeah. Those are the Mike Patton voices. Sometimes you got to do like a yeah, or whatever.
Is this your master class?
If you're doing Mr. Bungle.
Yeah, I'm in my master classes teaching people.
Welcome to the Jordan Imitation Vocals Master Class.
Imitation Mike Patton vocals specifically.
Yeah.
Voice
You have to pay
acting
more
for
the
Mike
other
Patton
ones.
impersonators.
Yes, for Mike Patton impersonators. You know, if this might be too advanced for some of you guys, you can go to my YouTube channel. We start off with Marlon Brando and The Godfather. Just taking it easy. Well, this week I listened to the Caven record came out, and surprise, I cried on the subway. The first track broke me, and I had to pull myself back together, and then I got in the subway, and then this one song, I think it's called like Lunar, was playing, and I started to tear up again, and it was just, I think I was like also wearing the contacts, so I'm just like also my
So
eyes
the tears
are
already real close.
my
to the
eyes are
surface.
red, so I just really look like I'm having a time. And literally a stranger went
Oh no!
like did one of those, and he was like,
this is an audio
Yeah, you're
medium,
gonna have to
but
describe
Jordan
that.
just
I'm sorry. I
gave Jeremy a supportive nod and a pat on the shoulder.
yeah, I got a pat on the shoulder on the subway. But that's the thing is, I don't know.
Doing this podcast for a year.
Also, it's very mortifying where I'm crying on the subway and then someone does that to me, and I'm afraid they're gonna find out I'm just crying to like fucking Blink-182 or some shit, or like I'm just casually thinking about the end of 6 Feet Under.
Yeah. Anytime I'm thinking about 6 Feet Under, I am thinking about that fucking van episode. What the hell? Anyway, the Caven record, if you haven't listened to it, even the three of you in this room, it is a really unique sounding record. Like the way that they had to put it together, and automatically makes it sound very different than all of their albums and just a lot of albums. I went on a journey. I'm different. I feel like I got a Alkaline Trio tattoo when I was in high school. All right, folks. This week we're doing something a little different. I know that just based on who it is, we're gonna talk about Avenged Sevenfold, but I feel like I haven't heard a lot. I feel like there's just 1,000 not like off the rails Avenged Sevenfold albums. So we're doing City of Evil. And I know that that's technically a critically acclaimed album, but I distinctly remember that this is where, like, they blew up and just, like, all my friends were freaking out. Like, people had a reaction to this album one way or the other, so I feel like this is where the conversation needs to happen.
For sure.
It's about this one. Does anybody remember when this happened?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, very distinct.
Okay. Katie, go ahead.
I don't remember a lot about Avenged Sevenfold, but I remember Bat Country came out, and it was really catchy, and it was immediately everywhere, and especially during this time period in terms of, like, mainstream rock, there wasn't anyone really being like, we're gonna fucking shred, so it was, like, a big deal, but I wasn't very sure how I felt about it. The song was in my head all the time, but I wasn't all in on checking them out, and then like a month later, I will never forget this. MTV News did this report where they're like, Republican rockers, Avenged Sevenfold.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah, no,
What?
no. Yeah, and it was all about how Avenged Sevenfold are super conservative, and this is like at the height of the Bush years, and so they're like, yeah, not a lot of people out here have the balls to come out and say like, yeah, we support the troops, like what the fuck, and then they also interviewed some kids, it was some street punk, like, yeah, I'm like tired of all this like liberal agenda, yeah, I'm a conservative, what? And
What?
And something inside of me, so I wasn't that woke yet or anything, because when this album came out, it was 2005, so I'm in high school, I'm like
So
listening to
none of us were woke at that point.
Family
Yeah.
Guy had
No.
just come back.
But it was the first time that I put A to B together where I was like, hey, the whole point of being a rock star is raging against institutions, but if these guys are coming out straight out and just being like, no, I love the man, they got Oxy, then I'm like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to get into this. I know it's not for me.
That's so...
I'm so happy to hear this.
I thought you guys all knew about that.
I knew that...
I didn't know
I feel
specifically
so
and explicitly
validated.
like that.
I knew that this happened later. I'm not sure it was for this album.
It definitely happened really close together because I remember that song coming out and then seeing that thing happen very soon afterwards.
We're going to jump ahead. I remember the MIA is on the album. And I remember first listening to that and going, ooh, what the fuck? And then I remember seeing them live and them denying that it's like a Republican bootlicker fucking
It's so weird
rah-rah
'cause
song.
that-
I mean, I've always thought that song was just kind of like about PTSD and like just not necessarily
Yes.
like supporting the war necessarily, even though they probably privately did. Like that song specifically is about just like the ghosts that haunt you after you go to war and murder strangers.
That's what I kind of told myself, but like that the like 2 million soldiers line was like I was like
it is weird for sure.
but I remember that I thought that happened later, but either yes, they became
I
a
don't-
Republican rock band.
Maybe I might be like remembering the order of this, but I definitely was still in high school when I saw
Yes.
that, and I remember just being like, "Whoa, dude!"
Yeah,
Weird.
But,
yeah, their trajectory is fucking weird.
And then this is just a funny story, but I was at I was like wary of them, and then I'll never forget I was at this fucking show on Long Island. I'm in high school. It's completely oversold, so it's really crowded, and it's fucking Less Than Jake and Big D and the Kids Table.
Oh,
Oh
yes.
my god.
Which, if you're not familiar,
I
is
think
a
I was there.
ska band from Boston. That's whole thing was like, yeah, we like ska, but also like sometimes we're kind of mad. And it was completely oversold, so it was really rowdy. Like kids are throwing shit and like shoes and stuff are getting on stage, and someone throws a hat on stage.
and the lead singer, who famously hates LA because he's from Boston, okay?
He hates everything that's not Boston. Just a point of clarification.
Yeah. And he sees someone throws his hat on stage, and he picks it up, and it's an Avenged Sevenfold hat, and he's like, the fuck is this shit, Avenged Sevenfold? There's like bullets on here? Oh, that's cool, bro. And then the bass player or someone was like, hey, man, like, these kids paid to see you, maybe like not terrible.
Oh boy, that's amazing. All right, Kat, how do you remember the existence of this album?
Well, so in my friend group in high school, I was the metalhead. I didn't really hang out with a whole bunch of people who like the same music as me. Like, I hung out with people who were like music nerds, like band nerds and stuff like that. But I definitely listened to heavier music than they did. Mm-hmm. And so I remember that album coming out, and I remember buying the CD, and I remember listening to it a lot in my car and stuff like that. But I wasn't really aware of like the cultural backlash in the underground about like them not being a metalcore band anymore, because first of all, I'm not a metalcore fan. I don't really like it. And so I didn't really buy their first album or the first few albums. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know enough at that time as like a 17-year-old to like understand the trajectory of Avenged Sevenfold. I was just like, this is a cool record. Yeah. They had a cool Hunter S. Thompson-esque video. And at the time, I think I was super into Hunter S. Thompson. So I just kind of was like, this is fun to listen to. And it's metal. So awesome.
Yeah. Jerem?
Well, I think similarly to Kat, I was also like really into Hunter S. Thompson at the point where this came out. And I remember seeing the video, and it had this very strange impact on me because, you know, like there's a part of me that's just like, oh, cool. It's like doing like a Fear and Loathing thing. But then I also, it's 2005 when this comes out, right?
Right.
And this is like just at the tail end of my like scene kid times, right? And so I'd already like, I had like cut my scene kid hair off, and I was like, all right, I'm not doing that shit anymore. This is fucking lame. It's over. This thing is done. Yeah. And then I see these guys on TV with like the scenest hair I've ever fucking seen, except for the singer. The singer who has just like utter dirtbag hair. But the rest of them are like full on scene kid haircuts. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, man, fuck this.
Yeah, of course.
But then I'm like seeing the Fear and Loathing stuff, and I'm like, well, maybe not. No, you know what? Fuck that. And it was like this like wild back and forth for me. And then people started wearing their shirts, and I was like, okay, no, now I know where I stand. I don't like them.
Yeah, because they were popular.
Yeah, exactly.
I also feel like they were kind of banking on people not knowing about Master of Puppets.
Rookie mistake.
So here's the thing. They were my favorite band in high school.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, it makes sense.
They were my like second favorite band that I found myself. I grew up with like my parents showing me stuff. Then I found a Korn, and then when
you found Acorn,
I found a Korn or whatever.
One corn.
In your sock.
I found one corn, a creamed corn. And then I remember finding like metalcore screamo stuff because I also was the only kid who liked metal in my friend group. The rest of my friends liked like pop punk and stuff, and I wasn't into it. So when someone showed me like a Kill Switch or whatever, or like I think there was a band called like Static Lullaby, it was like all of us were like, this is cool. It's like all the things we like together. As one thing. Even though there was parts. Yeah. I was into that. And I remember seeing Avenged Sevenfold for the first time around their like second album where they're still like screaming, and they're mainly like a metalcore band. Like that's their thing, is they're mainly punk. And then they like sometimes have a guitar harmony.
Right.
I remember looking at it and going like, this is cool. It's like really going for a lot of like cheesy metal stuff that just doesn't exist anymore. I like this gimmick a lot. Mm-hmm. But they still just did like shitty breakdowns and stuff. And he screamed like a little bird. And he had a booming, full baritone voice. That's how I remember it. He has a full... Okay.
Because...
That doesn't exist on this album, and there's a whole
vocals.
whole thing.
Okay, so I was listening
Yeah.
to this album, and I turned to my boyfriend with my headphones on with like tears in my eyes, and I'm just like, I just wish they didn't do clean vocals on this, because then maybe I'd be into this.
Yeah.
The fact that I can understand every word he's saying, and it weirdly sounds like a pop punk song
Yeah.
randomly, I hated the
Fucking
vocals.
sucks.
I love
I
that
hate
this
that.
drove you to tears.
Like
Yeah.
of madness.
Yeah. I'm
It is-
crying because I miss the not clean vocals.
Yeah.
Well, did you remember what the band used to
No,
sound like?
I just know
Yeah.
that I just like know straight up that if he was just like screaming or something, I probably might have gotten more into this album. But like, I found his vocals so distracting.
Yeah,
I don't want to
it's
understand.
Jarring as fuck.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is like when I first got into them, I was like, this rules. It's a high pitched little black metal bird scream. Like it sounded like a little chirp. And then when he would sing, it was like a full, like big, deep rock vocal, which
Right,
is so insane. And then he blew out his voice screaming. And then on the new record, they get signed to Warner Brothers. And they're just like, we're going to go full in on this rock thing. And the guy who trains him to heal his voice back is the guy who trains Axl Rose.
Right. That's
And
what
Chris
I read.
Cornell.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which
Yeah.
makes
And Chris
so
Cornell,
much
like
sense.
he worked with him for I think Audio Slave or something like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because there's parts of this where it sounds like he's doing an imitation of Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah.
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 It's
I wonder if
there's
that guy
literally-
just like teaches people to do that.
I was so distracted by the vocals because I know that this is the only album that he sounds like this on. It's the only time that he sounds like he was just kicked in the throat and is singing straight through one nostril. And
It's because the other nostril was for all the coke.
yes, that's the coke nostril.
Yeah.
That's where the coke in the nose ring goes. I remember first hearing this album and going, fuck this. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was so jarring and bizarre. And I hated it at first. And someone took me to see them live. I went with like my friend and I was really grumpy. And I'm 15 or 16 and we're about to watch the band and just the Beetlejuice song starts playing. It's just black. Then a spotlight hits. Their guitarist flies out of the darkness, starts shredding over the Beetlejuice theme, and I'm like, I am 15. Shit, I love this. I fucking love it at the time. And then I watched what their show was, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I think this whips ass.
While he was shredding to the Beetlejuice theme, did a sign come down from the ceiling that said, buy the shirt?
Yeah, it might as well have, because I probably did. Buy the skull with the bat on it. Like, since Iron Maiden, I haven't seen like a band really hammer home, we have a mascot. We got a guy.
You know what's funny is that in the old Acheron, the room in the Anchored Inn where they like used to have that, they have this big painting on the wall that looks exactly like that logo. And the first time I walked in there, I was like, why is the Avenged Sevenfold logo in here?
Yeah.
And it's the only thing left from the old Acheron, and they just like put a frame around it.
Well, it's like when you play a Zelda game and you're like, what's with all these Avenged Sevenfold mascots flying around?
All right, what do we think of this thing? Now, it's like listening to it.
Why did you tell me that this album is so long? There's 2 different 9-minute songs. Most of them are at least 8 minutes.
Katie, you should have known that just from the fact that there's a computer-drawn horse on the cover of this album.
I have a question for the room, because
Yeah.
clearly you and Kat have way more of a relationship with this band, so maybe you know. Is this a concept album?
I don't think so.
I actually don't know.
I didn't see anything.
None of
about
the reading that I've done about the record has suggested that. But
It's just like each song is so long, and there's so much like. But some of the lyrics are all the lyrics are very dumb, but like some seem like they're specifically trying to tell this story about like some demon fight or whatever. And I was just curious if it's the same demon or just different demons.
Different
be
demons,
it
yeah, it's always different
emotional or
demons.
otherwise.
the PTSD demons.
No, I would have guessed it was a concept album about that old Nickelodeon show Wienerville.
Because they're wieners?
Yeah, because they're
Okay,
wieners.
cool. Just checking.
Because this is music for fucking wieners. We talked about it very briefly when I got here. The album actually whips ass. Like, a lot of it is very good. Like, riff-wise, I think there's a lot of very fun shit going on. But this is music for wieners. Let's be very clear about it.
I
totally.
don't agree with that. I think you have to transport yourself in time to 14 years ago when like most music was way worse than this. And this is a metal record that's like sick arpeggios and shit and dual lead. Like it was like a heavy Thin Lizzy with like weird vocals.
Again, musically, very cool. I love a lot of the riffs. I love a lot of what's going on with the guitar. I think lyrically, it really brings it into Wienerville.
But do you know
But
what's
everything
so...
in 2005 was Wienerville. Haircuts were Wienerville.
Family Guy had just come back.
Exactly.
Wienerville.
Family Guy had just come back. But here's the real thing. They had a really ambitious idea. From what I'm seeing, is they're like, we're gonna keep all these elements from like punk and hardcore, and we're gonna really try to shove it into like a crazy Iron Maiden package. Like we're really gonna lean into this Dungeons and Dragons shit. But the most jarring part about it is when he's doing vocals that are so clearly for hardcore parts, but he's singing them and he's saying
So weird.
it is. All of them are. It's all regular hardcore lyrics of just like, you fucking betrayed me.
Yeah.
You're not my real friend. But then there's also, look, a dragon. And having all that shit together is alarming, and it's coming out of like.
Look, a dragon. Women are bad. Support the
I mean,
troops.
like-
Yeah.
Look, a dragon.
There's just a
Doing
lot
drugs.
going on, and it sounds like someone with bronchitis is telling it to
I,
you.
Which
It's
is like,
like,
again, just remember what was going on culturally at the time. Like people were reading Tucker Max at this time and calling it poetry.
That's so real.
Like we are so inundated with information now because we have smartphones in our face 24/7. We did not have that then.
No.
So it is very difficult to like transport yourself into that frame of mind of hearing that record now. It was way, way better than so much other shit out there at the time.
I agree. I think it's not even just riff wise. I think song structure wise, this is one of the most impressive things I've ever heard, just musically and even melody wise. Like, yes, his voice sounds insane. Like, it's the weird. I read somewhere that he said to the vocal coach, I want to sound different than everybody else. And here's the thing.
He
Goal
did.
achieved.
Yeah, no, he totally sounds different. He sounds like 5 different people.
Yeah.
It's wild how many voices he
It
has on
seems
this
like
album.
it hurts.
Yeah,
It
some of them.
sounds
that's
like
the
it
thing.
hurts.
Yeah, the
It sounds like
MIA,
it
it sounds like
fucking
he's
hurts.
struggling. It sounds
the
like
very
that fucking
end-
sucks to do.
Yeah, he's just like, like that was a note. He hit the note, but he was like, it was so weird. It sounded like he was getting teleported in the middle of singing. Like, oh no!
I gotta go.
My home
Wait,
planet
this is
needs
the
me.
end. My own planet needs me. Support the troops. There's shit on this album where I was like, this is fucking crazy. No one has pulled this shit off. Like, I think it's like on like Blinded in Chains, there's like a chorus where he's like singing a really catchy chorus, and then the guitars come in and like sing the rest of the chorus, and it's just guitars. No one does that.
I hate that I'm gonna be this person. I fucking hated this album. It's so bad. like I
Dude,
think
you're fine. You're
I
supposed to
think
hate
they're
it.
very talented. Like there is like really cool guitar harmonies and stuff happening, but this was fucking painful for me, dog. I hated every
Totally.
minute of it. And it's like I think maybe if it was just an instrumental,
Yeah.
maybe it would have been like I would have had an entirely different experience of it. But I just felt like they were trying to do too much. There was like they were trying to. I respect the attempt to give something for everybody, but I don't think it always works. And it was hard. If each of these songs were 3 minutes long, maybe I'd be like, this rips.
Totally.
But it was just like such. It was hard. I had to like take breaks to pace around and shit. It was, like, not
You know,
good.
like as much as I will defend their sound at the time and like their lyrics compared to other bands at the time, I will say it could have been half as long and it would have been way better.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you on that. Yeah, it's fucking just like it's like that wrestling show that we just went to. There's like a point at which you're just like, I think an hour of this maybe could have been.
Speak for yourself, bitch.
There's maybe an hour of fat we could have trimmed.
I didn't want to take you, but the tickets were for our podcast, so I had to. I would have brought someone who would have lots of fun. So don't
I
make
had
me
lots of fun for most of it.
I could have just lied to you and not tell you about the tickets, and I could have brought Jordan, and it would have been great.
I would have loved that. I would have been so excited to see the guy go, I'm the mayor of Slamtown. I'm like, this guy's the best.
You see that guy? He's the mayor.
Yeah. The second that guy
Start playing
who is
Hail
that?
to the
It's Johnny.
Chief.
It's Johnny Mundo.
Yeah, but in Impact,
know.
he's Johnny
Johnny
Impact.
Impact. Yeah.
Johnny Impact. Dude, his big fuzzy coat, his song just goes like, welcome to Slamtown. And then his catchphrase is, I'm the mayor of Slamtown. This is my fucking guy. I've been waiting for this my whole life. I love that. I love
But
the mayor.
I understand what you're saying.
I concede that this album is way too long, but I don't think there's a piece of any of the songs that doesn't work. Every single thing that they're doing, they manage to pull it off. Even the fucking like the crazy Danny Elfman interlude in that song, I'm like, fits with this song. It fits
Even
exactly what they're doing.
Even on the ballads, though, like the ballads, you don't think are like a misstep at all?
I think the idea of doing a ballad is in this format I would never do, but I don't think that anything they do on the song doesn't belong in that song. I feel like every time they change something, I'm like, this is something that is different. It is a melody that succeeds. I think just the composition on the album, that's what I mean is
Yeah.
like, this is fucking incredible. There's a fucking flamenco guitar ending and it fits. What the fuck?
But
There's 2 minutes of flamenco guitar at the end of a song.
I hated that.
It's really annoying. It's really
really
fucking
the
annoying.
worst.
But okay, so
It might be, but it fits.
can I
They
posit
made
a
it fit.
theory? The video for that song, the ballad one,
Yeah.
is like a perfect metaphor for what the vocals do to this whole album.
Yes. I
Like,
agree.
the moment you see that dude fucking appear out of thin air on top of the coffin to do the solo is the moment you realize that,
Looking like the pickup artist.
yeah, looking,
Yeah. Do you remember? Did anybody see that like Instagram story of like Johnny Depp with the slide guitar and he's playing with the Alice Cooper band and he's just making noise. And it's just Johnny Depp like falling all over the place with the slide guitar. That's what he thought he was doing.
Just like
he thought he
Fieldy.
was a ghost that appeared on a casket.
It's like that Fieldy video where he's like, the thing about the bass is you just pick a note.
Yeah. That's
I
Johnny
love that
Depp with the
video.
slide guitar.
But anyway,
But yeah.
so the video and like the fucking weird choices in it are like kind of a really good metaphor for what the vocals do to this album, which is to say that like you have a really strong bass, you have some cool guitar shit going on, you have a very tight band doing very exciting stuff, and then you just have this dipshit just being a fucking asshole over most of it.
That's why he went to jail.
I was so close to asking you if he really did.
To clarify, the lead singer is in jail in this music video. We're not saying he's in
He's
jail.
not really in jail. He didn't actually
currently.
do a hate crime or anything like
No.
that.
That we know of.
No.
That we know of. He very well probably did.
Yeah, I mean, hate crime is hearing some of the decisions of the vocals on this album and going, print it. Look, I don't, I don't think some of the melodies are bad. It's just, it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
It sounds fucking crazy. Like
He
when
sounds like a Mad TV sketch sometimes.
Yes.
it's
That's a very good way of putting it.
Yes.
yeah, it's really nuts. But this is also an example of like I'm a little guitar player. This album sounds like the guitar shit I wanted to write when I like got a guitar and I was like, the things I'll be able to do maybe.
Well, and I
is
could see this being a really cool gateway for a lot of kids who maybe never heard that kind of music before.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably really exciting.
Especially because it was very mainstream. It was all over the radio. It was all over MTV.
Yeah, that's how I found out about it. And like, yeah, if you've never even like considered metal before, I could see that being like a cool thing about this album. Especially because like you guys were talking about before, like I don't remember anything else like this being around at the time.
Yeah, at this time, no one wore an Iron Maiden shirt. No one, like now, everybody.
I forget the exact quote, but like you need time for things to come back in vogue again. And I think it's just like the memory of the negative idea of the 80s metalhead was still in everyone's mind, and that Metallica album Crashing and Burning. So I think people were just like thought that they didn't like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this reminded them that like, maybe you do, y'all. But yeah, like that joke I made before about Masters of Puppets, I think like a lot of people just like forgot that shit existed. Like in our age range anyway. They were just like, we didn't even think to check it out yet.
Totally. And I think that the weirdest thing about Bat Country being a single is I remember most people loved that song for the dueling guitar part. Like that song was popular literally for like 20 seconds of the song.
And that 20-second part is sick as hell.
It's so fucking sick. It's so catchy. Even to this day, I don't know any other albums that have dueling guitars that really sing like this. The guitar solos are really incredible. They sound unbelievable and they're very distinct. But it's all really fucking cheesy and the vocals are super misguided. This album cover, it's guys.
Yeah, wait, can we
so
pull that
bad.
up?
Yeah,
We need to look at the cut here.
What is it called? City of Hell?
City of Evil. That's why I was like, is this like a musical about all the evil people in the City of Evil? You got the harlot.
Well, it's a really bad town. I tell you what.
There is a horse with no regard to anatomy.
No. It's
Yeah, it's how Rob Liefeld would draw a horse.
Yeah.
this horse has a shin bone in the neck.
Yeah.
It's like the picture of what Horse the Band actually looks like as a piece of artwork.
Then they have they're not Eddie riding him, right?
Yeah, definitely not Eddie.
They're not Eddie.
This is the
I
most-
cannot express enough how much this
Who's
is
definitely
not Eddie.
also a head.
Dude, their symbol is a skull with bat ears or with bat wings as ears. This isn't even canonically correct with the wings are on the back of this guy.
Yeah, they're on the back of his neck.
Well,
So
someone
is it
argue.
always does that mean their symbol is like always like leaning forward and like judging a child?
Yes. He's
Means
speaking
he
to a
has-
child who's just done something bad at the park.
Yeah, this is
He has severe
a park ranger.
scoliosis.
Unfortunately, in the City of Evil, they equip park rangers with swords.
They love authority figures. Avenged Sevenfold.
It looks like
I
a
mean-
computer game. It's like a 1995 PC game about their
appreciate-
guy.
It looks like the fucking Eddie game.
Yeah, the virtual 11 or whatever. This is the game.
I respect the attempt. Really, what is offensive to me is the stock use of the metal effect.
Oh, on the text?
Yeah.
Fuck that. Yeah.
But you know what? It was a different
Yeah.
time. Everyone was just learning how to do graphic design, okay?
Yeah.
Now, if this guy versus the Creed tree,
Oh.
which is the worst, I still think the Creed tree
Creed
is
tree.
worse.
Creed tree's worse, yeah.
If they were all photoshopped into the shin neck of this horse, then maybe.
Oh my god. But wouldn't that be cool?
That would be undeniably rad.
I would love if they would change it to the album to just like Soul Horse, and then I would love it.
Also, I may be looking into this too deeply now that I know that Avenged Sevenfold are a Republican band, but the City of Evil does very distinctly look like it's in the Middle East.
I think you're projecting there.
Yeah, no, this is literally just like a Google Maps of Chicago.
Also, because like they think of themselves as like cool evil dudes, so it's probably in their mind. Like,
Yeah, they're like, it's a
Las
sick city.
Vegas, baby, Las Vegas.
Yeah, because Hunter S. Thompson. Again.
Because Hunter S. If I taken anything away from Hunter S. Thompson, is he likes to party, baby.
Yeah, Las
And
Vegas
also
is
the
cool.
whole
likes to be
concept of
drunk at a
like
pool.
making a beast of yourself to get rid of the pain of being a man and all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, masculinity.
I think that's what the cover is
Oh yeah.
depicting.
Avenged Sevenfold, masculinity is a prison.
I would change my mind about them completely if they just said that up front.
Yeah.
They're like, every lyric about this is the pain of the standard of living I have to adhere to. I'm like, it is, man. You know.
You know what, dude? You do your thing.
Did Dragon Force come out before or after Avenged Sevenfold? After?
Way after.
It's I found it very
Interesting.
reminiscent of Dragon Force.
Yeah, that's how, literally, because of Avenged Sevenfold, you get a Dragon Force.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Avenged Sevenfold is the reason we have Guitar Hero.
Actually,
To be dead honest.
I was actually.
And also Wolf Mother.
And
I was
also
bring it
Wolf
back.
Mother.
I was gonna bring that up, but I also, now that I'm thinking about it, I associate this band so much with Guitar Hero.
I don't even think they were on a Guitar Hero.
They were.
Yes,
It
they
doesn't
were.
matter.
Are
They
you
are a
kidding?
Guitar
That Country
Hero
was on
band.
the first Guitar Hero.
Yeah,
I
it was
think.
on the very first one.
Along with Wolf Mother and like a whole bunch of
And
stuff.
Carry On My Wayward Son.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like that was
and
a
John
game
the Fisherman.
that made me listen to songs I maybe not have voluntarily listened to as a like 15-year-old punk, but I had to win.
Can I tell
I
you guys
just
a funny
remember-
story?
Yeah.
I worked for PlayStation when Guitar Hero came out.
What?
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 Yeah, there was a big Sony store in San Francisco, and I lived there when I was like 19 to 20, like I guess 18 to 20. I was there 2 years. Anyway, so it was my job to demo games for like crowds of tourists that would come into the store. And it was right when Guitar Hero and Rock Band came out. So I would like just be playing a little guitar. Like, come on, guys, come play this game. It's really fun. So I probably played Backcountry like 300 times.
That's awesome. When someone invited me over to play Guitar Hero, they were like, "You'll be good at it because you play the guitar."
Right.
And I saw that they had I remember the song that jumped out at me because it was all yacht rock, and then I saw like Lamb of God, and I was like, "What? Like, what is this game?" Okay, well, it's 4 buttons. This will be easy. I sucked so bad.
Yeah.
I was the worst, and I was like, "Where my powers?" or whatever.
Yeah.
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 Well, it's like I very distinctly remember the first time playing Guitar Hero and also sucking at it
Yeah.
and having that same experience of somebody saying, like, you play guitar, you'll love it. And then just, like, looking at the little guitar in my hand and being like, well, I'm not learning this again.
Yeah, I learned this song before, and I don't want to learn it on
This impractical thing. If I'm going to learn this on another thing, it's going to be something I could play in a band.
Wasn't there another game that came out after all those things that was like an actual guitar and you
Yeah.
learn and like you actually press down the real strings? I was like, why not just learn to play guitar then?
Yeah.
At that point, that is the real game that you're learning at
Yeah.
home.
Well, we found this like I saw in our recommended videos one time. We put it on Twitter. It was just like all Guitar Hero 3 songs on a real guitar, and I was like, "That's music."
You're just
Wow.
playing
You could
classic
just, like,
rock.
Playing
Play
songs.
the records that they're on.
Yeah, these are real bands.
There's some sad people out there that don't think music is an option for them.
Or
So-
no one told them. You know, if you grow up in the middle of nowhere and you don't have like friends or parents or older siblings that like music to show you, then you might just,
Or maybe they're like a Mennonite.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They just got Guitar Hero.
Yeah, that would be the coolest shit if you just got Guitar Hero and you'd never heard rock and roll before. You'd be like, this is amazing. And I can play it? That's so cool.
It's running on one of those, like, water mills, like, getting the energy for it.
Zebediah, it's time to turn the mill so mother can play her guitar hero.
Yep.
It's like the favorite. Rub my leg while I play all the way through Fog Hat.
On expert mode.
On expert mode. I know all the nuance. I do remember that. I remember kids talking about a kid in my school who he was just like, man, this guy can play Dragon Force on expert. And I was like, what is happening? This kid was the shit for like an entire week because he could beat a video game of music. Seeing kids turn that into a skill, and it was super weird.
But you know what's cool about that is that that's how so many people learned about metal. Because like the other day, I was listening to Power Trip at work, and I work in the same office as Mix Mag and The Face. And so the people who work for those magazines don't necessarily like heavy music or even know what the fuck we're talking about all the time. But when I put Power Trip on, one of my coworkers who works for Mix Mag, which is like a dance music magazine, was like, "Oh, I know what to put on next," and he put on Dragon Force, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like, you learned about this because of Guitar Hero, didn't you? And he's like, "Yeah." Like, I loved playing that, and then we had like something to connect over, and it was really cool.
That is cool.
I mean, like, we're like, just because that's how you get into it doesn't mean that you're not going to like later go buy the record or learn about other things that they've played and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a great gateway drug.
I just think it's funny that like teenage Jordan was so bent out of shape that no one appreciated his
Oh, yeah.
shredding.
This guy.
He's like, you guys, I can do it for real though.
I
That's
was
the
like
thing, that's-
Sam's
yeah.
dad in that episode of South Park. Can we just talk about how this band is the most like perfectly assembled people who look like they should be in a band together? Like they look like they're in a sitcom about vampires. About like handsome vampires that go to a high school.
I mean, I definitely like. I know their masculinity would not want me to point this out, but like, I feel like they must have had a band meeting where like, we need to cultivate a look, boys.
Yes, they absolutely. That was a conscious decision. There's no way they accidentally all ended up looking that way.
100%.
Don't get me wrong, like we're all guilty of that to
Yeah.
a degree. I think definitely when they realized they're like, all right, if we're gonna make it and get all the beautiful women, we need to. You know, actually, Kat had a really good point where she pointed out that dude looked like a pickup artist because this is the peak of the mystery brand of picking up women in which you need to peacock. And
Right.
these
And,
boys
and neg them.
and neg them. Well, and these boys definitely were negging people, but they definitely are also like, I need to do a memorable look of some sort. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That's why some of them
It's
look
like he was the creative director of that video. The
Yeah.
pickup artist was.
Oh. Is that why they all look like beautiful birds?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on the money there, Katie.
For a second, I thought because the guy who wrote the Motley Crue book,
Yeah.
he also wrote a book about the pickup artist, and I was. And for a long time, I thought he was the pickup artist. And so when you first said that, I'm like, oh my God, because he wrote about Motley Crue. It's all coming together.
I mean, it
He
does
is-
make sense.
Yeah, it's not coming together.
Yeah. But it's all because of one man. I
There's
thought
a
it was
lot
all
of-
Neil Strauss turning men into beautiful birds. Like he's like the Brian Eno of trash.
Can we talk about their fucking names, all of them?
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
my
we didn't
God,
Talk
yes.
about that.
Because this is going to come back to something I talked about before, that this is the music of wieners. And that is because,
Well, they all have MySpace names because
They-
it was MySpace time.
yeah, they all have Ricky Gunsko Bang type names.
Yeah.
Can you please read them?
Yeah, sure. Band's current lineup consists of lead vocalist M. Shadows.
Don't do current. You have to do the original. Oh, can I tell you something that I found out when I was researching?
Yeah.
But mostly by research, I mean yelling at my tiny boyfriend about how miserable I am listening to this album.
Yeah.
He told me that when their drummer died, the guy from Dream Theater left Dream Theater to be in Avenged Sevenfold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is so funny to me.
That's super funny.
'Cause
All right. I have a full
Which
timeline of
proves-
the people in
Great
this
drummer.
band.
It proves Jeremy's wiener theory, though.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm gonna prove it even further here. Okay, timeline of members. We have M. Shadows, Zacky Vengeance,
Oof.
Sinister Gates,
Oh my
It's Bill
God.
Gates' cousin, Sinister Gates.
Evil Bill Gates.
The Gates that doesn't donate his money.
He doesn't have glasses and he has a mustache.
And like
Bill Gates.
spurs.
Bill Gates. Matt Went, that's a normal one. Justin Sane.
Oh, because
Wow.
he's insane.
Yeah, he's insane. He's also the singer of Anti-Flag.
That's like one step above
Does
Pizzeria.
that mean the Anti-Flag guy was in this band?
No, I think it's just another guy who chose that stupid name.
Jesus.
Damian Ash, which might be a real name. Johnny Christ.
That's the Danzig guitarist. Why are they copying other people's names?
Because they didn't research it.
No.
And the last
There's
one is-
already spooky vampire people like this, you guys. Come on.
and The Rev.
R.I.P. the
He's
Rev.
he died.
yeah, he's the dead
That's
one.
when he died.
He did die.
How did
with
he
an
die?
insane amount of drugs in his system.
Yeah,
Oh.
he it was a very long list.
That guy is a good drummer, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I love a double kick drum.
Yeah, and he's twinkling around on this album.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like.
I was reading earlier that he had to do some insane routine to get ready for recording this because it was just like so many fucking double kick and blast beats and all that.
It's just it's very graceful. I remember this like one part where he's just literally doing like a fill only on the double kick, and it's just like a and I was like, this is nuts. What?
Okay, wait.
You make it sound like a ragtime band.
It
It
kind of
does.
was.
It sounds like a ragtime thing.
It sounds like a ragtime band. It was
Oh,
like
I love the Rev. He's always tickling the ivories down at the go-go bar.
Okay, before we move on from this, though, I just want to say that their current
playing with
lineup,
Captain Beefheart.
is M. Shadows, Zacky Vengeance, Sinister Gates, Johnny Christ, and Brooks Wackerman.
He's like, I will drum
Are
for
you
you.
sure
I
you
will
don't
not
want a cool
change my
name?
name.
It's
Nah,
like
bro,
the guys in
cool.
Slipknot who won't wear the costume.
Yeah. The names are so funny.
So fucking funny.
But
M.
that was-
Shadows is the funniest one for
Because
sure.
I always think it's going to be M. Night Shyamalan. He was probably real pissed off when that guy took off.
I wish that they had like a story for each one, because there was always like for a MySpace name there was always like a story behind it, even if
Yeah.
and the guy always loved to tell, like, literally there was a guy in my town called Josh Eats Bugs, and we were like, you don't need to tell us how.
I can fill in the blanks.
I got it. Well, no, you say like I eat some bugs.
Some bugs, not all bugs.
Not all bugs.
See, the thing is, they call me Ricky Guns Go Bang because this one time we were near a shooting range and I heard a gun and I was like, wow, that would be a cool name. Also, I got these gun tattoos on my hips.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's kind of my thing. That's
and
what
they
I'm known
point
for.
to my dick. If you need guidance to my dick, please look at my guns go bang.
You see, the thing is, people pointed out to me that it's actually indicating that I might shoot my dick off, but no, I want to be clear. No, they're pointing to my dick, where I want you to.
It is an
go.
indicator.
A dick,
It's like a
dick
compass. You know what I mean?
It's like a
but
compass,
it doesn't
but-
point north to south.
It's a treasure map.
So what you're saying is you wish there was lore.
I wish there was lore.
Well, there is lore for M. Shadows. I looked it up.
What?
The story is that when they were starting the band, they were all like, we're going to get stage names. And he's like, well, I'm the dark one.
All
It's
right.
not good.
He has too big a dimples to be dark. It looks like he's smiling even when he's scowling.
He's got cute little dimps.
Yeah, he's adorable. I just want to pinch his cheeks.
I'm just saying, if you got silly names and a cowboy skull, like, seems like a good time to just like straight up make up some fantasy bullshit and be
Yeah.
like, from the gates of hell is M. Shadows, the devil's accountant. Here, sing for you.
Sonic the Hedgehog's arch nemesis, M. Shadow.
That would add up.
I love his dimples.
I
Me
think
too.
there's-
I love his little
They're
dimples because
so hot.
it's so fun to think about how much effort he probably put into looking tough just to
Yeah.
counteract his dimples.
I know, and it's like the most attractive thing about him too. Just body dysmorphia affects us all, and he just needs to like get into it.
I was excited when he shaved his head in the video because I was like, oh, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. Get
Looks
rid of your
great with a
stupid
shaved
hair.
head
It
and
looked
also,
terrible.
shirtless bench pressing in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not mind.
Here's the other thing. On the other albums I've heard from these guys, his voice is really good when he's not doing this.
Honestly, there's a lot of stuff on this album where his voice sounds fine. The thing is that it sounds like Axl Rose, or it sounds like, like it just doesn't mix with the music very well. But he is technically a very talented singer, I think.
Yeah, well, that's even what I mean is like the melodies work.
Right.
Like he's not singing anything that is jarring to the music except for the occasional like like that doesn't even come out properly. But every other time I've heard him do a thing, it's like a pretty impressive, just, it's a basic like metal guy vocal, but it's not like a nasally Axl Rose thing. It's a full like baritone, like oh.
I'd be interested to hear that because he's got a bad case of the meows on this one.
Yeah,
He's always like,
meowing all over the place.
whenever it gets low, he's like meow around the meow. It's very like, and I could tell that it hurts.
It just sounds like it hurts the whole time, and
Yeah.
that's honestly because I love Axl Rose's voice. I sing with Axl Rose voice most of the time. And I know that when you get to the point where you're making the sounds that he's making, it fucking feels bad. He sings like somebody who did too many karaoke songs and signed up again.
But like, when are we gonna do karaoke though?
We haven't gone in a long time. We
I
should
wish
do
go.
that. Katie, you don't think that the like weird instrumentation and interludes worked? Like, you don't think they pulled
I
them
think
off?
some of them did. I just felt like a lot of it. Yeah, it's just like it clearly were different elements from other genres, and like individually, I thought they were strong, but together, some of it felt very kitchen sinky to me and like slapped together. Some of it more than others.
Yeah.
And maybe if the songs are shorter, maybe. And so it happened in quicker succession, I would have felt like it was more cohesive.
Yeah.
But because they had the time to like really walk me around it, like I kept thinking the song was ending, and I'm like, no, it's still the same song, just a different part. Yeah, I just like, especially when they would do this thing where they would go from shredding to pop punk shit. Like straight up. That like the really jarring and I get why they were doing it. It was a time and a place, but I just listening to this now, I just felt it completely did not work at all.
That's super fair because it's
But-
crazy. This was, for me, I looked at it as, look, they were a band. They got so much money to make this record, and I don't think I've heard like a major label debut where people made better use of all the money they could do, because every instrument I've heard of is on this album. They did so much. They were like flamenco, then Tim Burton fucking Danny Elfman interlude, and then next song, which Ennio Morricone interlude. Like it's crazy and it's stupid, but it does sound like a bunch of dudes who are genuinely having fun with how much money they have to do stuff.
Right.
I have no these dudes definitely were having fun.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
There was definitely mountains of drugs and unlimited access to young people.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
They have that haircut.
Yeah, but a lot of it I didn't think it worked, but I will say I'm always happy to see a breakdown in the forest. I'm just walking around enjoying my life, and oh no, it's a breakdown. I'm just brushing my teeth. This is fun.
There was one like really classic like 2000s scene kid like conspicuous ass breakdown.
Yes.
Which is
I wish I could remember. It's like
I
midway
think
through the album, and it just is
I
the
know
one where it's just
exactly
like
what you're
the song
talking-
stops short,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I love that shit, man. I still love it.
Well, that's what I mean is like
I
they're
spilled all my quarters on the floor. Now
Yeah.
is the time.
It's the Shark Punch thing. It's from that Shark Punch song. It's hardcore dancing time.
Oh my god. Kat, did you go through a like motherfuck I love a breakdown phase in like high school?
Yeah, the first time I ever heard Domination by Pantera, I was like, this is the sickest thing I've ever heard in my life. I never want to listen to any other song as long as I live.
Yeah. Hell
And
yeah.
I don't know. I listen to a lot of like stoner rock and doom and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that doesn't have any breakdowns, and I'm just fine. But when I hear
Yeah.
a sick one, it like raises the hair on the back of your neck. It's awesome.
You're like, good
Yeah.
to see ya. I feel like I could take a kickboxing class right now.
Oh yeah,
I'm ready.
totally.
It's
I
just-
mean, I will say I listened to City of Evil at the gym yesterday, and it was very helpful.
yeah, 2005 was just a time where people were. I remember when one of my bands started, we were like, look, whatever. Like someone would just write a riff and it's like, that's fine. And then we got to the breakdown. It's like, fun rhythm. All right, this is the only part we care about because this is the only thing that anyone else cares about right now.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was every song had to have a breakdown because everybody like there was so much. It was like it was like the .com boom, but for like hardcore dancing.
I know.
It was like this time period where there was this like wild innovation in the world of hardcore dancing.
Yeah.
There's so much weird bullshit happening in pits, and I love it.
Yeah, it was like when everyone got into yo-yos in the 90s.
Yes.
Yes!
And you just
Totally.
like saw like so many tricks on the yo-yo. You're like, I didn't even know there was one trick on the yo-yo.
I thought you just had a yo-yo. That was doing just down and up was moshing. And then like the little clock thing was the windmill. That shit got dumb.
I think I'd like to amend my answer earlier
Yeah.
because I hadn't really thought about it. I definitely went to like Taste of Chaos tour and stuff like that when I was like 16, 17, which apparently Avenged Sevenfold played like the year after I stopped going, but it was on my birthday 2 years in a row in Sacramento, and it's like they just like signed up for the same tour dates, the same to like just use these. It's fine. It worked out last year.
Yeah.
And like Deftones and stuff played, but also it was like Killswitch Engage and Static Lullaby, like you mentioned earlier, and stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
there was a lot of breakdowny music going on, but I don't think that I like went through a hardcore phase until very recently. Like I'm 31, and I feel like I'm finally being like, holy shit, hardcore is the coolest shit in the world.
Yeah, man.
It
So
happens.
yeah.
I heard
Sneaks up on you.
I heard
Because
like
at first you think the song stopped.
favorite songs, everybody.
Oh, I think it was the first one. I think aside from how weird it was to open with the guy breathing,
Yeah.
but then
so
like
weird.
like a weird choice to have like the breath be mixed higher than the vocals that come after it.
That is weird.
But
So
yeah,
odd.
Beast and the Harlot.
That was a
That's
single,
the
wasn't
one.
Yeah,
It was
that's
one
the
of
music
them.
video we didn't watch.
Oh man, now I'm curious what that video was like. I'm gonna watch it when I get home.
Okay.
You
Stay
can't
tuned. We
stop
will
me.
talk about it on the next episode.
You can't fucking stop me.
Okay. Katie?
Actually, I was gonna pick that one too because it's memorable to me.
Yeah.
My problem is this album kind of just like oozed into each other for me, so I honestly can't tell most of these songs apart, and so I remember that one as its
Yeah.
own thing.
It's a lot of like guitar
Yeah,
over and over again.
yeah. I like individual squickies in there. You know, like
Visual
Yeah.
squeakies.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
like
I
a
mean?
squeak here.
Totally.
The solo of Beast and the Harlot, like when I was listening to it again, I was like, this solo is incredible. The solo is so distinct and fun, and the little waterfall harmony at the end, like the little Flight of the Bumblebee thing, rules.
Yeah.
At the very end, I love it. I'm gonna pick the flamenco one, the one that ends with flamenco guitar.
You love that guitar.
Dude, I love it. I here's the thing, because it shouldn't work.
Yeah.
That part should suck, and I was like, I don't know, man, it works.
Honestly, I'm gonna say backcountry because
It
like
is
it's
catchy as
it does
shit.
seem obvious, but it's catchy as hell. I love a pop song structure in a metal song.
Yeah.
I love a dual guitar lead. I'm a total Thin Lizzy head, so that made me very happy. And I like Hunter S. Thompson, so as cheesy as it is, that song's great.
Yeah.
And it's also super memorable.
Yeah,
Like,
it's gonna get stuck in your head for weeks.
It's there right now.
Yeah,
Plugs.
Find me on Twitter at Jeremy Thunder and check out Ballin' Out
Super.
It's a great podcast.
You can find me at Twitter at Katie Rose and the anime thing.
you can find me on Twitter at Cat Jones Soda, and you can also find me on Instagram at Cat Jones with 3 O's.
Cat Jones.
All right, yeah, follow me on Twitter at Mr. Jordan Olds. Follow my dog on Instagram at Great Hambito. Follow 2 Minutes to Late Night at 2 Minutes to Late Night on Instagram, Twitter at 2M2LN. Please donate to our Patreon, honorableswords.com. We're going to be at Fest and Psycho Vegas.
Psychotic Las Vegas.
Psychotic Las Vegas.
And we're going to reenact the Bat Country music video.
Yeah.
We're going to dress
Masculine and all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Drew's going to dress up as a sexy showgirl, and we're
And
going
we're
to
gonna-
dance around.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we're going to stay at a Days Inn.
We'll just bring Chris the Bat and we'll just throw him around a bunch.
Sounds great.
Whatever.
Let's do it.
It's an idea. Who cares? No bad ideas in brainstorming.
Goodbye.